What is up, babes, Muppets, and especially monkeys? I'm making this video today on what is happening in the Twitter sphere. What is happening with the PR and kind of what happened with that. Kind of weird, huh? First and foremost, if you want to talk your shit, make sure you're talking it to me. I did not edit this video. I myself am a monkey, so don't talk shit about the editing. If you want to talk shit, please talk shit about the content. And to me, directly, I'll be reading in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Love to see it like I have on Twitter. But my friends doing this has nothing to do with the beef, so talk shit to me. Secondly, Twitter. So to just a couple things before we get into the data piece, I want to talk about Twitter. So Twitter is an amazing and horrible place. I saw the results and I was very upset. I think the homie Atomic describes it the best, that I was on my goo goo gaga shit, which I was. That tweet that I had, I have not deleted because I deserve to be clowned on. I have apologized to the panel members for calling you idiots, but I told each of them that the Muppet and Monkey comment stands because that shit is hilarious. I don't care who you are, that shit's funny. But moving on. Stats. What I see as being important, the three most important things, and we'll get into this once I'm going to actually pull it up. We're going to change things here, and I'm going to show you the actual stats of the entire season. A couple things. Three things. Head-to-head, which is the most important in a lot of people's minds, but you're wrong. Peaks and valleys. Where were you at your best? Where were you at your worst? It's very important. I've been a part of a lot of panels, and it's very important to see kind of like what's your shittiest and what is your best situation. And the last and most important, and you can't really debate this one in my eyes, is consistency. How consistent were you during the length of the season? Now, there's a lot of things to track: wins and losses, head-to-head, tournament wins, tournament losses. In Smash, you could use challenge, but I don't think anyone's usually using challenge anymore. I don't think that's happening. I think it's mainly Smash GG, which is, I'm pretty sure, what we use for most of our events. I think that's what the data has in front of me here. But like I said, I've been a part of a lot of panels, and there's been a lot of disagreements along with a lot of the placements that people get on PR. Like I said, I deserve to be clowned on because I was upset. I was very upset. I'll get more to that after we look at the data, but I was upset. I really felt like I deserved to be number one this season. A lot of people don't. A lot of people, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm kind of like want to put the data in front of you and make your opinion then. Because a lot of people making their opinions on Twitter, it's fun. It's a good time. It's funny. I love seeing the copy pasta of my thing because it was some goo goo gaga baby shit. Muppets. The Muppet thing, I'm making that into an emote for my stream because it's funny. But they don't know what they're talking about for the most part. Like, the stats aren't really showing. And a very important part before we really get into the meat and potatoes of it is out of state and like what really counts for PR. Now, I'm someone who believes that out of state should not count, and I'll get into more of that after I say this point. The PR said that out of state does not count for this season. Agree and disagree with that all you want. Rules are rules at the beginning of the season that it shouldn't matter. Now, I am not someone that believes Kronos should be punished for going out of state. Absolutely not. Kronos should not be punished. Why would you punish somebody for going out of state? Kronos had an amazing season. He's on the come up. Let's go, Kronos. But even though he does not deserve to get punished, I deserve credit for beating 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The rest of the PR was mine while you were gone. And we could say that you would have maybe been able to beat me during this time. The 4-1 is very damning. It's very damning. We'll get into that. It's very damning. I'm like, shit. Like, and that's something that I'm even sour on. I'm like, damn. Like, getting number one is awesome and something that was my goal, but that head-to-head is a little rough. But we look at, is that the only head-to-head we look at? No. So just quickly in regards to out-of-state, what that means, counting wins and losses is kind of tough. And this is the reason I don't believe it. And you are 100% welcome to disagree with this part. You're absolutely welcome to. I think the data kind of speaks for itself and will defend me more than it needs to. But the PR saying that it doesn't count is just like, it doesn't count. And the reason I would say that it shouldn't count is, how do we work losses into that? Are we just counting wins? Because if we look at losses, that makes it so much more messy. Now, if you do have a win and there's like a tiebreaker situation, sure. But like, for the most part, when you look at it, it's tough to do that just because counting in losses and wins from people who don't have ELO, if that's how you're tracking it, which is how we tracked it, just makes it messy, just makes it weird. All the props in the world for wins out of state, but in my opinion, if you are winning out of state, I hope that you're trying to make the PGR, not the local PR, because the local PR, believe it or not, comes from locals. That's all I really have to say about that. But you're welcome to disagree. If you think it should count, then maybe it should. I think in bigger regions it probably should, but in smaller regions, not really. And we're growing at Colorado, so we'll see in the future. But for this season, it didn't count. And that's kind of just how it ends, you know? Now, I've talked a lot with the PR panelists themselves about kind of the situations going on. But after my post, I got a lot of backlash to start. Now, that was the first wave. The second wave has been way more fun, but the first wave. So the first wave, I think, was just Kansas and Nebraska copying what I said and memeing over their PRs. Fun and good. What sucked was a lot of the in-state people were like, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I'm like, not only has the PR panel not released any data, but like, we don't know what's going on. And I'm like, dude, like if we just look at the data and we look at all this, I feel like it's pretty clear cut. And to see PR panel members just throw me the 4-1 and I'm like, yeah. Like it's tough. It's tough. I hella lost to Kronos. Kronos beat me this season. But in terms of what it takes to make the PR consistency, head-to-head, peaks and valleys, which we're going to get into. I don't think I have anything else to say about that. As a panel person who has been on many panels since Smash 4, I've been playing this game for too long. But this is fun. But I've been playing this game for too long. But what I will say is you can't really go back and change it. Even I think that. Now, you have to understand, from my perspective, I wish they got it right the first time. I really do. But they didn't. They did not. Now, I was almost about to be forced to hold that L, which would have sucked. Like I said, we'll get into more of that later, but let's get into the data. All right, so now we're going to look at the data. So they use TrueSkill, and even when I was a PR panelist member, I will admit that I was not the data guy. I mean, I'm looking at head-to-head, I'm looking at all the data, but I'm not compiling this shit, and I bet it's hard. But something I always remembered is I don't even want this to be like any part of it. I'm number 1, sure. Kronos is number 2, the scores are what they are, but this doesn't mean as much as the 3 things we talked about before, which is consistency, head-to-head, and peaks and valleys. So let's look at that. I might struggle with navigating, but this is going to be Kronos' side, and this is going to be my side. Now, even though I'm ranked like that, that is what it is. Overall win rate, mine is barely above. Now, if we look at overall win rate with tournaments that counted, mine is above 50%. I think Kronos is around or at 50%, but let's go ahead and see. Even if we're saying Kronos went to less, which it looks like he did, he lost more than I did and had worse losses, which we'll also get into. Let's go to the bottom to see what tournaments counted and the placements at these tournaments. So something I forgot to mention in the beginning of this video, we had a tournament called Double IPA. This was the only tournament this whole season that had the entire pre-PR on there, along with all the HMs and everyone. This was Kronos' worst tournament of the season, and it did not count. It did not count for no reason. IPA is a tournament that usually has, like, it's at a bar, so there's drinking and stuff like that. You have to be 18 plus in order to go to this event. But this one did not have an age restriction. It was like a Saturday event where everyone was invited, and I still to this day do not know why that didn't counted. I did get first to this bracket. I did not lose a single game, and Kronos had his worst loss to date at this bracket that for some reason did not count. I'm not calling the panel biased at all. I think that their video in response to all this was good. Just weird. I don't know why that didn't count. Anyway, moving on. So it starts at the bottom. I was undefeated in October. Kronos' some of these I guess were not counting. I was looking and I was like, damn, he almost has as many first places as me, but the CSU ones do not count. So this one doesn't count, this one does not count. So the only 2 first places that count are this one and this one. So just kind of try to ignore those for the most part. As you can see, they have less entrants, and these supposedly did not count. Now I'm pretty sure they did count towards his true skill score, which helps. And but moving on from that, I was undefeated here, lowest placement of 7th. Kronos had this, but it was not counted for whatever reason. Like I said, lowest placement was 5th, kind of at the beginning of the season. Now, looking through this more, peaks and valleys, I mean, this is valley. This is coupled with my worst loss of the tournament. Me and Kronos actually played for 7th place, and Kronos beat me at this last tournament. Now, Kronos did end up only getting 4th at that tournament, but that tournament was kind of a shit show. If we look at all the other ESFs and just placements in general, mine outweigh his by a decent amount. A 5th, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I had a 7th, 2nd, 4th, and 2nd. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only go to the ESF. That's the biggest one. That is our weekly of weeklies. That's where everybody goes. That is top 8 at least on the PR every single week. Except like the 2 weeks Kronos missed, which I believe was both in October, but I could be wrong. But as we see here, he did come back and win one. And he did win another one, which I believe this was... No, this is the monthly, but this is the other monthly. If we look at total attendance, I beat him in terms of beating more people. Like overall, larger tournaments, I won this season. Now let's go to the next stuff we want to look at, which is the head-to-head. So let's look at mine first. 1-4 in Kronos. I will always admit it, it is very damning. It is something that I do not like to see because that does kind of give Kronos a point. Now what I believe the panel was kind of looking at, besides the weird out-of-state thing that it did not count, but some people might have thought that it did. A little sketchy, but who knows. This is Kronos' like only thing. I like to think that they looked at this because they were like, well, it's either Bang and Kronos as number 1 and they put him as that. But if we look at this overall, it's not the best for Kronos. Now that is bad, but everybody else I win on. Everybody else. My worst loss comes to I think our number 7 or 8 on the PR, and that was at this last one where Kronos beat me. But my worst loss is to 7 or 8 on the PR. After getting 5, I thought it was more than that, but only 5 sets against, or 5 wins against Robber. Kronos though, looking at Kronos's. Now I don't have anything off this that really matters. I beat everybody else. My only losses here, and we can look at them. I got a loss to Shu, and 4 losses to Smirk. We were kind of battling at the beginning of the season, and 4 losses to Kronos, which totals 9. Now these 9 losses are to top 4 on the PR, top 4. The only other loss coming to 7 or 8. Like I said, that is the only other loss I had for the entire season. So that means the only head-to-head I lost was against Kronos. Hats off, he got me this season, absolutely. Now let's look at Kronos. The best thing he has here is this 4-1. Now he's 4-1 against Smirk as well, but here we see him losing to Shu 2-4, which is pretty damning considering I'm 7-1 on Shu. Now here, someone I didn't lose, another L. Someone who I played at this magical tournament that did not count, got a fresh 2-0 on Rydra, did not count, but Kronos has lost 2 sets and has not won a single set against Rydra, who placed 6th on the PR, which affects your true skill, which affects a lot. King, another loss. Someone that I was not losing to, but I didn't play this season. The season before, though, I think it was 3 or 4-0 on, but another loss there. And there's another loss on here that we're not quite seeing because they don't make it up on here. But as we can see from Kronos's, that loss comes to Moose Sauce. Now, Moose Sauce is someone who is not PR, not honorable mention, kind of probably within like the 15 to 20 range, I would say, within the state. But that loss hurts. That loss hurts bad. That was the same tournament where I lost to Robber and we played and he beat me, but his loss is worse than my loss, and that's head-to-head. Now, what I was looking at the beginning here with all this nonsense was, please go back, was overall consistency. Now, I wish these 2 tournaments were not on here so you didn't have to look at them. But if we look at consistency against greater opponents overall, because every single one of my tourneys count, you can't question that mine is without question better than his. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first places all scattered throughout the season. Like I said, October was a pretty awesome month for me. And then besides that, a couple of seconds, 1/4, which I thought was going to be my worst, and then I cracked a little bit at the end with a 7. But even with that season, only losing with 10 losses total for an entire season, and 9 of those being in top 4 people that I won 2 out of the 3 on. Like I said, Kronos got me, but Kronos losing to all those other people is damning. Is absolutely damning. And if we look at peaks and valleys, now, I would say Kronos' valley is losing to Moose Sauce. My valley is losing to Robber. He has a lower one. Our peaks are winning tournaments. Now, tournaments that count like Kronos won this season. 1, 2. Tournaments that I count for winning this season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He only has 1 second. I have 2. He has a third. I don't have a third. Our 4th's tie. And I guess 7th and 3rd might even out. But in terms of if we're talking head-to-head, my head-to-head's better. And that's a tough thing to argue with what we just looked at. We could go back, but I'm not gonna. Just because I lost 9 times to the people in the top 4, and he has losses that are not even within the top 15 players. Like I said, I'm not trying to shit talk Kronos. This is just factual. These are facts. This is what's happening. Do I think Kronos deserves to be punished for going out of state? Like I said before, absolutely not. Because he's only counting, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tournaments. I don't know if we have a requirement. If we did, it's probably like 3 or 5. So he definitely qualifies. But he's not punished. He is not punished at all for not going to events. And I can show you that with this. He's not punished at all. In fact, you shouldn't be punished, but I get rewarded kind of for the consistency of it. And that's kind of shown on this weird graphic. Now, this graphic's weird to read. You should not really take it too much into consideration because all the other facts that are already on the board. But I stayed on top at this point. I mean, is that Smirk? Yeah, Smirk, in my opinion, might actually have had the stuff for second this season, but kind of faltered a little bit towards the end, and then Kronos kind of creeped up from down here. But I was on top this whole time, on top of Kronos the whole time, and just on top in general. And like I said, these numbers don't mean much, but I feel like it's just another additional thing on top of what we saw with not only the head-to-head, but the overall placements in tourneys. I got it. And I don't know how they didn't understand that, considering I'm pretty sure these counted, even though they don't technically count, because Kronos said they don't technically count, but I'm pretty sure they counted towards his true skill. But besides that, overall, the 6 tournaments that he went to, I won 5. I won 5 tournaments, and he went to 6. And in these 6, he won, what was it, 2? He won 2. I don't want to bash Kronos, but facts are facts. And if you don't see me as being number 1, I'd love to hear your reasoning as to why. But these are the stats, and this is just kind of everything it should be going off of. We can talk about out of state, we can. But like I said before, if the panel says before it happens that it doesn't count, then it doesn't count. So we have to look at the in-state stuff. And the in-state stuff says me, and it does. And I would compare Smirk and Kronos, but I'm not going to do Kronos that dirty. I'm just going to say, I got you this season. Plain and simple. You can clown me on Twitter all you want. That's how it is. Moving on. Again, sorry if this video is too long. I'm not trying to keep you guys for too long. It just seems like there's kind of a decent amount to talk about. I love Kronos. I think Kronos is going to do great things. He beat me out of state this season. I mean, I only went to 1, and I fumbled the bag. I did fumble the bag out of state. Not even really going to touch too much on it, but I got screwed on the pre-PR as well, where I only lost 1 event. And because I lost 1 event in a whole month after winning 3 in a row, they said that they gave it to Kronos that time too. So this time I was without question upset. Now I said that there was more to that, and I'll add to it. If you don't really want to hear this part, the stats are kind of all I wanted, like Ragers and stuff, to see. This is kind of more for people, I guess, who care more about why I cared so much, because I'm not really somebody who gets that upset. I kind of go to tournaments, I mind my own business. I talk my shit. Don't get me wrong, I talk my shit, but it doesn't look like I care. Now, I had a lot of people doubting my abilities, kind of in general, with being gone for as long as I was. Because during COVID, I didn't really go to any tournaments. There was almost no signs of me, and the scene was run by Kronos, Shu, and Smirk, kind of flip-flopping, even a little bit of Rydra. But I told people that I'm going to come back and I'm going to win. And even people that liked me and people that were close didn't believe me. So, even though I was a goo-goo gaga baby shit on Twitter, seeing people just immediately say that I'm wrong after not looking at what I believe to be pretty damning evidence, like pretty good. Like, you can disagree, and the head-to-head's big, and it's very damning, but the rest is just, if I win as much as, if I win that much, and you go to 6 tournaments and I win 5, like, even that sounds more important than head-to-head, but I would even give it there, and then I would look at losses and your other head-to-heads, and it's just kind of like, I got it. And I really feel like I earned this. And the worst part is even if you disagree to this point, I'm down to hear your argument. I really am. But it sucks. It sucks, and I wish they got it right the first time, because at this point, it's been tainted. It has. Now, I don't want anyone to feel bad. The things played out how they played out. I earned it. I am number 1 in this state. Plain and simple. Even if you think Kronos is a better player, that's fine. That's totally fine. We both have our goals. We're both going to keep playing this game, and I'm looking forward to it. I just wish they got it right the first time, because now it doesn't look like I'm number 1. The beauty of that is I have my own goals. I don't really care what people think. I don't. The people that know the stats, the people that have given the time to see it, kind of all agree that I am the best right now in the state, considering all the stats at play. regardless of out-of-state stuff, like, in my opinion, even if you add that in, like, it's weird to add in, but I still think that I take it. I still do. Now, I'm a very biased and cocky person. I always believe in myself, and that's kind of why I bet on myself for this season. So to see that they said no, and for people to throw that back in my face without looking at the stats and seeing how truly dominant I was this season, sucked. And it sucked, but I'm still very happy. I don't feel at all like it's been tainted in my eyes. I am the best in the state. I am number one, and it feels good. And it feels good because it hasn't happened for years. Because of COVID and everything, it really sucks. And now the way things are looking now, it looks like we were about to go in lockdown again, and I was just going to be forced to hold this L after doing so well in a 3-month season. Too well. Very good. And I'll stop patting myself on the back, but I do take pride in this. And there are a lot of people out there who are like, why do you care so much about a number? And that's fine. I've been playing Smash, I think we're coming up. I started in January of 2016, so I'm an oldie. But I'm coming up on 6 years. And during this time, I would say the majority of the time I have been number one in this state. If I will say anything to Colorado's defense, we're coming. I think that the top 5 are a special breed. And as somebody who's kind of been running this show for a while now, it's great to see. It's great to see people defending Chronos, understanding his results, and being a fan of Chronos. Hell yeah. I'll be the bad guy. I really don't care. I don't. I have my own personal goals, and this was kind of one of the ones debatably on my way out the door. Now, I'm not saying I'm retiring or anything like that. I'm not. But this does feel good. And I feel great because I know that I earned it. And I feel like the people, once they actually look back at the stats, understand that. So, I don't really have much to say. All I'll say is leave you with a little bit of motivation / shit talk. Didn't really want to end it this way, but I'm gonna. A lot of the people that said they didn't care about the number, it's because you're not number one. This might not sound good, but I know everybody has their own goals in mind. And they asked me why I care so much about a number, but it's because I hadn't seen this number in so long. And it doesn't matter what your goal is. If you're chasing to be on PR in general, chase that. Go after it. You should attain it. And the people that are close, like the HMs, like Sky and Bri, I believe in you guys. I think you guys can make PR easily. Easily. I think if I made that list the other day of all the Colorado people that I think can make PR, and I think a lot of you can. Absolutely I do. And just keep pushing. All I'm saying is that if this situation happened to you, I think you'd be pretty upset too. I deserve to be clowned on. Keep clowning on me. Keep copy and pasting it. It makes sense. It does. I deserve to get clowned on. I was being a baby. I'm all about the Twitter drama though. I am all about it. But it feels good. I feel good. I'm going to have a celebration stream because I am number one. I am the best. Comment what you think on this video. Tell me what's going on. Usually that's not what this channel is for. I like anime and shit. I like playing games. Smash is a hobby. It is a hobby. So then you're probably wondering why I got so upset, but it's because I do have goals. And I did what it took to become number one, and it sucked when that didn't happen. Of course, there was some confusion. I don't necessarily blame anyone, and I wouldn't have changed it at the end of the day, but I am glad that they did, because they did muck it up the first time, so I'm glad they got it right the second. Think what you think. Tell me I suck on Twitter. Do your thing. There's a bounty out for me. I'm all about it. I'm very proud of myself, and that's all I really have to say. But go chase your shit. Become number one if you want, wherever you're from. But get on PR if you want. Do what you need to do. Set those goals. Because Chronos has large goals. I would say Chronos probably has larger goals than me at this point in time. And I know this doesn't affect him as much, but this is one of the things that I really wanted to do because Colorado is the strongest it's ever been. So don't sleep on us. We're coming at you. Comment, like, dislike. You know, throw me a sub while you're here. Like, why not? I like anime. You know, we can throw this trash drama aside. You know, like, I'm into other shit. But yeah, keep clowning on me. Peace out, guys. It's been fun. Number one!